And welcome back, fellow football fanatics. Jake Butt and I are going to give you a couple of quick hitters to um, really go through and preview this upcoming week and also talk a bit about Michigan football and then the Penn State head coach opening. How are you doing today, Jake? And thanks again for joining us.
Doing well, Sam. Good to see you, man. And yeah, happy to join you guys. It's that time of year. The leaves are changing. It's Halloween. It's getting cooler outside, which means the competition is heating up. Champions are made in November. So some big games. Really, last weekend was the kind of the start of it, where we're starting to lay out the playoff picture, and it's just going to only heat up here down the stretch.
Yeah, we have our first college football playoff rankings this coming Tuesday, which I'm curious to see how much bias or lack thereof or weird things are going to be showcased in that set of rankings.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be. Hopefully, it's different than the AP, because I think the AP has made some egregious mistakes.
Yeah. Um, do you think Iowa should be ranked?
Absolutely. Iowa and Washington should both be ranked. And I think one of the big telling statistics here is there's 4 6-2 SEC teams. All are ranked. There is 4 6-2 Big Ten teams. Washington and Iowa are not ranked. That is just I mean, if I could just have the floor to go in here for a second, what bugs me is I hear all the time in the SEC about quality losses and hypotheticals. I understand the loss Iowa had to Iowa State. It was a bad loss. We thought Iowa State was a better team, not as good as what we once believed them to be. But hey, it's a rivalry game. It's early in the season. You lost. Okay, fine. But how about the quality loss against Indiana? That's the best loss of any team this season. They played Indiana far tougher than any opponent. And yet, for the hypothetical side of it, hypothetically, if Mark Gronowski, Iowa's quarterback, doesn't get hurt, I think the Hawkeyes win that game. And then you start to compare their wins. Okay, look at, and this is what the AP does. I know they only look at the box score. So for your AP viewers, just go look at the box score, which is what you do, and see Iowa against Minnesota, Iowa against Wisconsin, dominated them, on par, side by side with what Ohio State did against Wisconsin and Minnesota. It is a joke that they're not ranked. And then for Washington, that is, if you just looked at the box score, okay, maybe Ohio State dominated. I've been sure Ohio State was in control of that game, but it was not. The final score is deceiving. Washington moved the ball on them. They couldn't score in the red zone. Some of their youth showed up with mistakes. Game was far closer than the final result. And then on the road in Ann Arbor against Michigan, same thing. The game was tied at half. And then because of their youth, they had a number of mistakes and Michigan pulled away. But the context is Washington did not have their starting left guard or their starting left tackle. Their tight end room gets completely decimated with injuries. So I called Washington's game against Illinois last week, and I'm talking to Jed Fish, and Jed told us during halftime pretty much all their coaching conversation was allocated towards what plays can we even call, because we have no tight ends and no offensive linemen. So the context matters there too. It's egregious that those two teams are both not ranked. How about Washington? Washington beat Washington State on the road. Ole Miss struggles with Washington State at home, and that's apparently the best the SEC has to offer. There is just such clear bias, in my opinion, and it is frustrating. Obviously, you could tell I'm frustrated. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Iowa in efficiency, so not FPI, but efficiency, which only looks at this year without priors, they're ahead of Ole Miss. And they're up there with Texas and Oklahoma.
How does that work again?
Defense. It measures, they don't give the exact formula, but a lot of it's EPA per play, how you move the football, points per play. It's a schedule adjusted measure of per play efficiency. And Iowa's top 20.
Well, I mean, that does not surprise me, because when you just look at their film, every single year, Phil Parker is going to have a great defense. They once again have a great defense. The key this year is they're back to taking the ball away and forcing turnovers. Special teams is always going to be outstanding. LeVar Woods is a head coach that happens to be the special teams coordinator. Their special teams is outstanding once again. And now offensively, they are complementary and layered. I think Tim Lester is the most underrated play caller in all of college football. He's completely turned around what used to be a joke. You would just never waste your time talking about Iowa's offense. Now they have a dominant run game led by a dominant offensive line. The layers come into factor because he's been able to add in complementary wrinkles with Gronowski's legs. And I know Gronowski isn't Peyton Manning or Tom Brady back there, but they have a complementary passing game. So this is a complete football team. It is an absolute joke and tragedy that they are not ranked.
Do you think, really quickly, that they'll give Oregon a game here in next weekend?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think they could win. I mean, you're Michigan. You're a student at Michigan, right? Like, yeah. So my senior year, 2016, we are undefeated, number 2 team in the country. On paper, I mean, we had our entire defense and some of our backups made all conference. We had double-digit players drafted. We were loaded, is all I'm going to say, and yes. Iowa was not. And we go on the road, night game at Kinnick, and they beat us. They dominated Ohio State, I think, the year after, another ranked game where the Buckeyes just came in and got smoked. It is tough to win at Kinnick, and Dante Moore, as good as he's been, has struggled against some of the simulated pressure looks. That's exactly what Iowa does. So that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
It certainly will be. For those of you watching, my viewers, we will be doing an early preview later this week looking at that game, which, I mean, talk about possibly one of the 4 or even possibly the 2 best lines of scrimmage in football going up against each other.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on some of the games this week in the Big Ten, and which game are you calling on the Big Ten Network?
I'm calling Purdue, Michigan. I don't think anyone's picking Purdue to win that one, but I will say, hey, listen, it's going to take time. I know Purdue fans are really frustrated. There is a chance they go winless back-to-back years in conference play. That's tough. I get it, and I empathize with them. What's really frustrating is they've had opportunities to win. I mean, just threw the game away against Rutgers. Same thing against Minnesota. They didn't show up against Northwestern. That's the inexcusable one. But they've had opportunities and just thrown the game away. But I will say what's interesting is Barry Odom being a defensive guy. The offense has an identity again. They look like at least in a sense, they have similar principles to the Jeff Brom offensive days with trick plays and RPOs and the modernized triple option. That's where Michigan has struggled this year. Aside from the Washington game, Michigan has struggled with some of these gadgety triple option type offensive attacks. So it'll be a test for Michigan mentally to come up there and show up, because here's the key for Michigan. Just the truth of the matter is they are a young football team. I think they're the youngest in the Big Ten, and they are clearly progressing. I've been critical of Grant Newsome. I have to give credit to Grant Newsome. The offensive line is absolutely progressing. The run game is completely dominant. It's good to see Andrew Marsh now being your starting receiver. He is progressing. Bryce Underwood is progressing. And they have a chance to be 9-2 hosting Ohio State. Why it matters that they're hosting Ohio State, at least to me, there has been a complete discrepancy in play calling home versus road games.
Yes.
To me, it is indicated of trusting and helping your young quarterback, Bryce Underwood. So you get to play Ohio State at home. I think that's a big advantage for Michigan just from a communication standpoint. They should be able to open up their playbook. And I think part of it from the play calling and why it's so conservative. I just think right now they say they probably have 10 to 20 gadgety complementary plays that they love off their base run scheme. And they're saying, why show it against Michigan State? Why show it against Purdue? Why show it against Maryland? Why show it at all? And I'll give credit to Sharon, because what that means is he has to stand up there and face the media as a leader and answer the questions from frustrated fans and frustrated media members. But I believe that there is a reason and a why to what the play calling looks like. I think Sharon has a plan. I'm going to give him credit there.
You think it's a little bit similar to a lot of these teams in football where against inferior competition, they just kind of turtle up and try to get through the day?
Yeah, but that's how it's been since Jim Harbaugh. That is how it's always been, and it's been so frustrating to watch as a Michigan alum, as They're comfortable just running the ball 40 times and sleepwalking to victory. I will say, though, I called the Central Michigan game, the game after Oklahoma earlier in the year, and everyone was frustrated with that game plan, wondering what the hell did we just watch against Oklahoma? And then they host Central Michigan. They could have run it 40 to 50 times and sleptwalked to victory, but they opened it up, and that was the beginning of, oh my gosh, Bryce Underwood is who we think he is capable of being. So I do think there's like a method to the madness of their play calling.
How would you assess Michigan now compared to after the USC game? And how much do you think this team's progressed from week 1 until entering week 10?
I mean, we talked after the USC game, right?
Yes.
It was dark times. That was frustrating, just unbelievably frustrating. And, maybe I was a little too critical at that moment, but maybe not, because here's the thing. I can accept losses. I cannot accept showing up unprepared. I cannot accept showing up emotionally and energetically unprepared. And that's what they look like against USC. And why it matters is, had you won that game, you probably are in the playoffs regardless of the outcome of the Ohio State game. So that loss was so important and painful and affects their playoff hopes negatively. But I will say, how I view them, that was an excellent response the following week against Washington. A dangerous, dangerous offense. One of the more dangerous offenses in college football. And the defense looked extremely disciplined. Only had 2 missed tackles on the day. That is Jonah Coleman is hard to bring down. Damon Williams is hard to bring down. Denzel Boston is a stud receiver. And Michigan was in great, great position all day long. Chip Lindsey called one of his best games of the season against Washington, in my opinion. So the team has responded and progressed significantly from the USC game, to the point where I will say, if they play the way they did against Washington, they're capable of beating anybody, in my opinion. And it's just going to come down to health factors. The one thing that scares me, Sam, to be honest with you, is special teams. I am concerned that their special teams might lose them a game at some point. And that just, you have to be perfect to beat a team like Ohio State. And I am nervous about the way special teams has looked. It's really inexcusable, because special teams has been a historical strength for Michigan since Jim Harbaugh got there.
Yeah, the punting has been off, and then Zavada, for whatever reason, hasn't been the same kicker that he was last year.
Fair catching punts at the 4-yard line, fair catching kickoffs with 40 yards of space out in front of you. It's they just look confused, and it's not good enough.
Yeah, that is an area where, they probably haven't improved. But the defense, I've noticed in metrics and just watching them, it seems like they've simplified some things and they've analytically improved, which is a good sign.
The linebackers help too. I mean, Jimmy Rolder, that was one of the best linebacker performances I can remember seeing from any Michigan linebacker. And it sounds like Cole Sullivan's in a brace. Did you hear the same thing? Like, Sullivan is, so health is going to be a big factor there, just in general.
Yeah, they got to get healthy. Hopefully over these coming games against lesser competition, they can, get up as the starters and then prepare for the game that really determines the season at this point.
Yep.
Good thing it's at home, because I would not even consider picking Michigan.
Do you get tickets for that as a student?
I could, yes, but I like staying at home and having the 4 box and watching everything so I can instantly react.
Respect. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'd go. I've been to a few games before, but I'm kind of a weird fan in that way.
You got time to decide.
Yes, for sure. Any thoughts on the Penn State head coach position? Who you think should be hired? Who do you think will be hired?
I guess my thoughts are, well, first off, it's been really interesting to listen to Terry Smith talk. He's been much more open and vocal, answering questions to the media. And I think if you listen to his press conferences, you can really get a chance to look under the hood to see what happened this year and where it fell short. And what I'm discussing is, Jim Knowles' defense is super, super complex. And Terry is basically telling you that, yes, it is complex, and they're their defensive backs are struggling to grasp all the checks and the concepts. And what I say is, you can run into an issue if you're the smartest guy in the room as a coordinator. You're only as smart as what your lowest common denominator is capable of understanding and executing. Seems to be a disconnect there. Terry Smith is vocal about it. Offensively, Terry Smith has said that he's challenged Kotelnicki. Hey, we need more vertical passing game right now. Enough of the horizontal passing game. We need to get vertical on defenses. And he said, we like our young receivers. We are going to play these young receivers. So I think it's been beneficial, I'm sure, for Penn State fans to get a chance to listen to Terry Smith and figure out where this team's at and where they're going and what they need to do to get there. As far as the head coaching position goes, I really have no idea. I really have no idea. Matt Rule is obviously the one that just makes a ton of sense from a relationship standpoint, from a familiarity standpoint. But where it doesn't make sense is you fire James Franklin with the anticipation of going to get someone that guarantees you competing for titles every single year. And I love Matt Rule and think he's a great coach. I would love to see him at Nebraska because he is a builder. I don't necessarily believe that Matt Rule is a guy that's going to guarantee get you where you want to go. So I just don't know. I think I've thought about this a ton, and I think the most hilarious outcome here, the most hilarious would be if everybody stays. Signetti signed a long-term deal. He's staying. What if Marcus Freeman stays? What if Lane Kiffin stays and Drink stays and Dillingham? What if they all just stay? How messy would that be? I mean, it would just be absolutely crazy. I guess another name that's interesting is Hartline from Ohio State. And, why that's interesting, it's two ways. One, he's a great recruiter, great developer of receivers and quarterbacks in passing game. But two, it's kind of like the book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Not only would it be you getting Hartline, you would be removing one of the key pieces of Ohio State's success. Obviously, like that's competition within the conference. So he's a name that's interesting. But they said most of these schools are saying we're not going after coordinators that are unproven. So I really have no idea what's going to happen.
I would be lying if I said anything differently. Just wanted your thoughts on the situation. It's going to be interesting. I mean, one thing I would point to is that whether it's Ryan Day or Dan Lanning or really any coach that is at a high level, they at one point were a coordinator.
Yes.
And one of the best places to do it, and a place that won titles and had...
All the best coaches are.
Yeah.
Ryan, Kirby, Dan Lanning, Lane Kiffin, like all the best current coaches are coordinators, which is just interesting.
Yeah. And as for Hartline, I mean, I know that some, people have talked about, well, he's only been a coordinator for 2 years, but he's not going to be he wouldn't be calling plays hypothetically. He'd be being a CEO and a manager. And based on what we've seen from his wide receiver room, he knows the talent required to win it all, and he knows how to develop.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we close out this segment?
Yeah.
I know that you are, you got to leave here soon.
USC at Iowa USC at Nebraska is a huge game this weekend, and it's everything we love about college football. It's two historic programs, blue blood programs with proud histories, two programs that have taken a step back in recent years, and it has been a slow build. They go out and pay $100 million to Lincoln Riley because they believe he's a guy that can get them to a place where they compete for playoff positions and conference titles every single year. Haven't quite done that yet. This is the deciding game. I mean, it is a playoff play-in game with both of them having 2 losses, a third loss, and just the truth is you're 99% likely eliminated from the playoffs. Lincoln Riley has struggled on the road. This is a night game. It is going to be a rowdy crowd. It is going to be sold out. Huge opportunity for Lincoln Riley and the Trojans. The flip side for Matt Rule and the Huskers, it's the exact same thing. It's year 3 Matt Rule. It has been a slow build, and you see clear progress. They're winning the 1-score games. The special teams is night and day. The turnover margin looks much improved. And yet there's still been some very frustrating instances this season that are self-inflicted that's caused Nebraska to fall short. There can only be one winner one winner Saturday night, and the loser is going to be in a very frustrating and tough emotional spot. I like Raiola as a quarterback. I like Maave as a quarterback, but I believe the game will be won and lost at the line of scrimmage. I think one of the big reasons why USC has looked improved this year is they're much more complementary. Lincoln has been more willing to run the ball, and they've been successful doing it. For Nebraska, I think Emmett Johnson is the most underrated running back in all of college football. I mean, he is just flat out outstanding. He can run through you, run around you, jump over you, catch the ball, pass pro. I think the Huskers need to 25 touches minimum, maybe 30. I think the team that runs the ball ultimately wins the game Saturday night.
That's a game we're going to be doing a deep dive on and a few other videos on. It's a playoff.
Look at their stats
game.
running between the tackles. Look at their stats for both teams on PFF running between the tackles and defending between the tackles. They're pretty telling in my opinion. I don't have them on me, but I remember looking them up and saying, "Wow, that is a telling statistic." Both teams running between the tackles and defending between the tackles.
I will look that up. I would assume intuitively USC would be better at that than the Cornhuskers.
Running or defending?
I would almost say both intuitively, but I could be wrong there.
No, USC has been outstanding. I think they're number 6 at yards per carry between the tackles. I don't know defending. Defending, I know Illinois just stuffed it right through them. Obviously, Notre Dame stuffed it right through them. So, yeah. Man.
Final thing before we get on out of here. Lincoln Riley is 0-11 against the spread on the road outside of the state of California. So this is a
run game carries. Like running the ball is like one of the best things you can have to take the crowd out of it and win on the road. So it's a huge. That's another one of the storylines. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and USC, their rushing attack at home has been dramatically different from what it is on the road. Competition factors in, but it's going to be an exciting game. Thank you for joining us. As always, would love to have you on again when available. Want to tell anyone where they can find you?
Jake Butt, social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Cameo, whatever. Jake Butt, message me, tweet me. I love to interact with people. So just feel free to reach out on all social media platforms.
Again, thank you for joining us, and for all of you watching, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment your thoughts down below, and make sure to check out Jake Butt on his social media platforms. And if you're watching the Michigan-Purdue game, turn the volume on. Don't put it on mute like I do for most of my games so you can listen to his great commentary.
Thank you.
Have a great day.